2 million undocumented immigrants have been deported from the US since Barack Obama entered the White House, more than under any previous president. Almost 400,000 were sent home just last year.
Viene siendo mi tercera, no cuarta, sí, cuarta deportación, en un periodo de 5 años.
Many have spent much of their lives in America and have left loved ones behind.
I miss my daughter, my family, where I grew up at. Coming to Mexico was like another sentence of jail for me.
And on the other side of the border, the threat of deportation is replaced by new dangers, homelessness and violence.
Well, I lived down in the canal over in that area down there for about almost 3 years straight. I'm from Los Angeles. I want to go back because life on this side is practically non-existent for me. There's nothing here for me.
More than 11 million people live illegally in the US. Over half of them are Mexican. This is the border fence that's supposed to stop more coming in. The number entering the US was down last year, but the American authorities know many of those deported will try to return.
When we repatriate them back to Mexico, sometimes we try to repatriate them at a place other than where they originally crossed to kind of prevent them, break the cycle of the smuggling pattern that they're already in, get them away from the organization that they've contracted with to smuggle them into the country.
But for many, the journey back to Mexico begins on foot and involves passing through this rusty door. At a deportation point near the Californian city of San Diego, thousands of shackled immigrants are removed each year. Some were caught trying to cross the border. Others had been living in the US without papers for years. The detainees are brought here just to the border by the US authorities, and this is their last stop in their deportation process. Once they've gone through that door, they will be back in Mexico. A few items in a small bag, that's all the deportees carry with them. Many are back in a country they haven't visited for decades.
Tengo toda mi vida. Se puede decir que tengo mi vida aquí en Estados Unidos, porque estoy criando mis hijos, les estoy dando su disciplina que ellos están mereciendo. Y con esto que está pasando, creo que es un golpe psicológico para mis hijos y para mí.
The Mexican government offers its returning citizens health insurance and a meal. They also get a chance to phone their relatives and are given help buying travel tickets to other parts of Mexico. Isabel first came to America as a child. She was studying law at college in California when she was detained for driving without a license.
Toda mi familia está en Estados Unidos. Solo yo estoy aquí en México. Pues derrotada, es lo que se siente, derrotada de que no puedes pasar, ¿sí me entiendes? En la forma de que es la tierra de las oportunidades. Y pues no puedes pasar y pues te sientes como que, ¿ahora qué? Pero pues hay que empezar de nuevo y no darse por vencido.
Isabel's plan is to get away from the border town of Tijuana as soon as possible. But many of those deported struggle to restart their lives. Raul grew up in America but was deported a decade ago. He's homeless and relies on handouts at a soup kitchen.
It's still hard for me to adapt. I want to go back to the U.S. I'm at a point right now where I'm suffering in the streets, and I have a daughter born in the U.S. You know, I left her when she was 2. I miss my daughter, my family, where I grew up at. You know, this here coming to Mexico was like another sentence of jail for me. I feel like I'm incarcerated because I didn't grow up here.
It's hard. It's hard to really adapt because you're also learning to be accepted. I don't have no family here. I don't know nobody here. And then the disadvantage was that my Spanish was real broken.
Like many new arrivals who end up in the dry riverbed known as El Bordo, Jose says he felt depressed and desperate.
You actually get kicked out right there. So that's the first contact you have is the canal. So it's so easy to get caught up right here. I actually slept in the river. I used drugs in the river. I participated in crime in the river.
Tijuana has been notorious in the US as a hub for human and drug trafficking, but the authorities here blame those coming back from America for a rise in local crime.
We've seen a definitely increase, especially downtown Tijuana, in which it's based on the deportation of the nationals. They steal, they rob, they get their food, and then they go and buy the drugs, and it's basically a vicious circle.
Some local charity workers think treating them like criminals is not helping.
Creo que las autoridades no alcanzan a ser conscientes o no quieren ser conscientes. Primeramente porque extraditan a las personas como si fueran delincuentes. Quien ya en esta situación tiene que buscar la manera de salir teniendo una identidad. Son indocumentados del lado de Estados Unidos, llegan a aunque sea su país, siguen siendo documentados y no encuentran opciones. La vida de ellos es una vida en riesgo, porque no están en un ambiente seguro, porque están expuestos a la situación de las adicciones, porque no están en un lugar sano.
Omar spent 3 years dealing with drug and gang violence here after he was deported.
So my life got placed in jeopardy. I got hurt. They stabbed me, I guess you could say, or they tried to chop my arm off with a machete. And they broke my nose 3 times. And they chipped my tooth.
For some deportees, living here is a last resort. But they also say it's a way of feeling closer to what they left behind in the United States, until it's time to try and cross the border again.
I want to go back because my family's over there. My son lives in Las Vegas with his mom. To be honest and blunt about it, I hate it over here. I hate it.